Hello. Okay, it looks like live there is Sir Mercury. Mr. Mercury. Hello, Mark.
Hey, I'm here.
Okay, we are live. Um, so
We're, we're live now.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
great. Uh, you want to do the opening spiel about tonight? I've done it 10 times.
Okay, all right. So at 9 Eastern, we're going to be doing the next installment of the Lunatic Patrol. We're going to be watching episode 12. This will be the 11th installment. So, yeah, come all. And I mean, regardless, have a good night, but it'd be great to have people, to have everyone. Because the conversations afterwards are always definitely super meaningful.
And the Zoom links in the description. Also, if you're not caught up on the show and you show up, we will recap briefly so you know who the characters are. Or if you're not caught up on the show and you don't want to watch the episode, just show up around 10 o'clock instead. We talk for a few hours afterwards.
Yes.
Um, all right, and the only last thing is if you're shy or have anxiety, just leave yourself muted and your camera turned off. Feel free just to lurk and not participate, or just to participate through the text chat. Yeah, so I think that catches us up on the details for tonight. Wait a minute, we going through? I'm just looking, and
Okay.
I've got a blank screen.
Okay, I'm seeing a blank screen as well. Okay, hold on one second. I have it streaming to
If I
OBS.
unmute it, though, I heard us talking. So
Okay.
folks in the chat, are
One
you
s-
hearing us?
one second here.
Oh, hey Rojo. So I see that Rojo's here.
Okay. One second here. Okay, I'm gonna go screen capture. Boom. No, let's go to Zoom meeting. All right. Okay. Now we should be. All right. Now it should see us. Okay. Okay, we are fixed. And
Okay,
once
yeah,
once it
I'm
catches up.
starting to see something come up on the screen now.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what was. Okay.
Okay, cool. So we're back on now. Rojo, if you wouldn't. Okay, so Rojo said that you could hear all that, but there was no video. Excellent. So anyone who needed to hear the intro heard it. Um,
Okay.
and so Rojo, anything on your mind? Me and Shane, we're going to stick around for a while. Like, we're not going to do 2 hours, obviously, because it's only 3 hours till the party, but we were going to stick around and chat a bit if anyone had anything on their mind. So feel free to comment and chat, Rojo, or anyone else watching. And in the meantime, anything on your mind, Shane?
Um. So right before we started talking, I was just thinking about just the idea of God as external versus internal, and maybe like I definitely experience uh him it him I call him more. It's hard to say. I feel like internally is where more of the like where I feel him more, but I definitely understand. Like, I definitely understand that there's a point that's not exactly internal and not external, where it's like where the external and the internal meet. Um, and I don't know, but for me, it's definitely more internal. Um, the experience of God.
I'm having trouble wrapping my head around the distinction you're making at the moment. Um, and it's partially the headspace I'm in. because just where my brain is going with that instantly is, but everything that you perceive as external is actually an internal perception as
Right,
well.
right, yes, yeah. So it's hard.
Everything is internal.
Hmm.
And so, or is what you're saying that you feel God internally, but don't see God's hand at work in the external world?
Sort of.
Or am I somehow missing the point of what you're saying?
No, sort of. I was just, yeah, yeah, more that I don't like all my experiences of what I would call God are more more inside. Like even if something happens on the outside, it's more like maps, like it's a perception more than like the actual thing happening outside. It's the
But that's true of everything. Like, and that's that whole idea in therapy. If you can't control the outside world, you can control your reaction to
right,
it. Or when Peterson says, when you look at Elvis's guitar, you see all that meaning of Elvis's guitar implicitly at the moment of looking at
hmm,
it. It's, you're always, all the meanings coming from inside. The same way you're saying all your sense of God is coming from within, but that's with everything.
right,
When you look at your mother, that love you feel, that's all coming from within.
right, right,
Even though she's in the external world, but also your entire experience of her is coming from within as well.
right, right. And I guess it's that it's that choosing the not the perception, but choosing to like be open to that internal experience, or like no, I definitely see what you're saying there. I definitely
Okay,
see.
it's are you touching there on how real is my internal experience? Because for some people, that's an internal experience. Is that's just an internal
Right,
experience.
right, right,
Whereas to another person, it's an internal experience is what generates all of reality. You
right.
can have the perspective where consciousness itself is what's generating all of reality, and the internal experience is the fundamental building block to begin with.
Yeah,
So which way were you, or is that your point, that you're beginning to question just what exactly is my internal experience and how should I be interacting with it?
yeah, yeah. How should I like? I've definitely like I experience it internally, and then there is the question of how. There is the question of like, it's just questioning it, like,
Okay.
um, and and I want to be skeptical without like, you know, I think it's good to question it without like immediately I don't think questioning it removes any of the sanctity of it, or the how important it is. It almost makes it more so.
I agree. And I would say there's a time for questioning and a time for not.
Hmm.
There's a
Hmm.
time in the presence of the Almighty to not be questioning, and there's a
Right.
sacred space where that's the place to be in belief. But there's a time to question for
Right.
sure.
Right.
And it's about having all those various experiences and assembling that into a gestalt understanding where
Hmm.
you don't say, is it about the way I felt in the moment of belief at the temple? Or is it about the way I understood it intellectually as I questioned it? It's like, okay, that's the trunk and the tail of the same
Mm.
thing. That's
Mm.
part of a bigger experience that the larger you is having.
Right.
Because also, you tend to look at yourself moment to moment, but in another way, you're a snake that on one end is this baby that snakes through time and space and ends with the old man's face. And the gestalt of you across time is experiencing God in different ways.
Right. Right.
But
Right.
yes, there's nothing wrong with the time of questioning. And to me, there's no question that can't be asked.
Right.
Like, there's nothing inappropriate about questioning, because a question is an invitation to understand more deeply. And does God not always want to invite us closer? That's how I see a question. It's an invitation.
Right.
Whereas some people use questions as an attack. They ask you a question and really they're shutting you down, pushing you away.
Mm.
But honest questioning is an invitation.
Right.
let me know the truth of this.
Right.
Let me know more of this than what I'm aware of.
Right.
Let me increase my resolution of my image.
Right. Right. And I think some people definitely make the questioning. I could see someone making the questioning their God, like that state of being.
Mm-hmm.
I think, but because it's a powerful
Well, that can
experience.
become when you worship the spaghetti monster. I would argue that the same way Pajot says Santa Claus is real, the flying spaghetti monster is also a real god.
Right.
And it's a very jealous god, and it's a god that destroys all other gods
Yeah.
when you worship it. And you worship it by claiming it's not real. That's how you worship it as a god. And then it takes over your whole reality, because it can use that to murder every other god, every other childish belief. And then it's the one running the show. But wait, there's a question here. And also, by the way, I love that this is where the conversation went. And the thumbnail for this is that dinosaur head roaring, like that ridiculous thumbnail.
Yeah.
And then someone clicks on it, and you just dive right into this deep shit about God. So I love that. But Rojo's asking, what's Shane's background and exposure to God? Like, was he raised in a Christian family or found God on his own terms? And can't tell, is Shane questioning his belief in God? Or is he trying to convince himself with all the variables available to him that God isn't what he thought God was? So let's start back with the first one.
Yeah.
What's your background, your original exposure to God? Were you raised Christian or found God on your own terms?
I think I found God on my own terms, but I was raised in a Christian family. My dad, it was pretty much, it seemed a lot like Peterson's upbringing, where his dad was essentially atheist, but he went to church sometimes, and my mom was a little bit on the like radical Christianity. She was very much on fire, even if sometimes it was in maybe the wrong way. But so, yeah, family went to church sometimes, but I think my experience of God, I found that later. So yeah.
And so the follow up was, are you questioning your belief in God, or are you trying to convince yourself with all the variables available that God isn't what you thought God was?
I wasn't. So when in the questioning, I find myself getting closer to whatever it is that so something's in my head, and then the questioning, in a sense, getting closer, I would say, is the best way to put it right now.
Okay, so with all that said, let's jump back to where you started, where you were in some way discussing, and maybe now that I've heard all that, I'll hear the question differently. So start back again into what your question was about experiencing God internally, and was it seeing God in the external world?
It was the as I was asking the question, I felt the sensation of what I was talking about, but it's more so. If there was a external experience of God and an internal experience of God, I feel like I experience it more internally. That's where the
okay, give us then a brief description of what an internal experience of God is for you, because some people may have no idea what you're talking about, or some people may have had different kinds of internal experiences and they assume that's what you're talking about.
Right.
So give us an example of how that's experienced.
So I was remembering looking and seeing a dog out in front of me, and the internal experience was like the best way I can put it is a rush of the color blue through like my perceptions, and this positive emotion. So that's and it's so that would be a small experience of a gift of God, or a gift from God, or like, or
So there's sensations of energy and emotion.
yes, yes, and it's associated with this. I think it's because I understand I'm perceiving something, a creation of God, or I'm seeing something divine, and it's mapping onto something, maybe might have something to do with
Okay.
it.
So now, in theory, what would an external manifestation of that look like? So I understand when you say an internal manifestation is you encounter something in reality and you internally feel a connection to God.
Right.
But you're saying that you're not seeing the external
I think
manifestation.
I
So are you saying that you want the dog to turn and say, Jesus says hello? Like, you want an external thing along with it? Or,
I think now that I'm thinking about it, I think it's a reaction to seeing the real thing. It's like both at the same time. It's like both, but I perceive it inside. Like I'm not expecting the God to say the dog God, the same word backwards. Um, I'm not expecting him to. I'm not
or wait,
expecting,
to be less ridiculous about it then,
but
like
he
some people
is
have visions of the Virgin Mary,
right.
for instance. Is that what you're talking about? An external experience where, okay, so the internal is you see a statue of Mary, you have an internal experience. Or the external being someone sees a statue of Mary, Mary starts crying tears of
Right.
blood, turns and says something, or the statue literally glows, or a crippled person stands up and walks. Is that what you're talking about the difference of internal and external?
I think that's one way of looking at it. I don't experience that very often, or I guess I feel like I try and keep control, and I feel like if it's too external, I won't like have control of the experience, and so
Mm-hmm.
it's something I try and maybe keep kind of more internal, maybe. It
So are you saying then that you're realizing that energetically or emotionally or subconsciously you think you're blocking witnessing external manifestation? Like that in a way you're rejecting that,
not. I don't think I'm rejecting it. I think I'm mediating for
limiting it, throttling, governing?
throttling. Throttling is a good way of putting it, maybe.
Okay.
Um, because I feel like my experiences are more powerful when I have some control over it. Like I know, like I guess just experiences, and this is kind of hard to say, but experiences of Jesus take the wheel over time were like just the feeling of like it didn't turn out that great. Like it got kind of borderline pathological almost for me, like
Okay.
going to that place. And so I think I found experiencing God internally more is just something I learned to do, so not to be overwhelmed, I guess.
Okay, and how did you said it became pathological? And I think like anything can be used for good or ill. Like any spiritual practice can become pathological or can become about avoiding something else. Any spiritual thing can be misused.
Right.
So what was it that you think made it pathological rather? Because other people have the experience of to pray, Jesus take the wheel, Jesus takes the wheel and it goes well. What do you think made it not go well for you? In what way did it become pathological?
Um, I'm not sure. It could have been circumstances. I think it was the like now it's like we'll use the dog. I experience the dog, and it shines through enough to where it's not to where it rejuvenates me. Whereas uh, it being maybe I mean it could have it being
Or
pathological.
are you talking about what was the name of that guy Andrew sent us the videos about? Who was trying to enlighten his parents and
Right.
such. Uh,
Connor Murphy?
okay, sure. So are you talking about that kind of thing where if you connect too much to that experience of God and oneness, then you run around like so for instance, one way Jesus take the wheel can become pathological is you pray Jesus takes the wheel. Then you continue to make decisions, but you run around claiming those are Jesus's
Right.
decisions.
Yeah, that would
Well, I
suck.
said Jesus take the wheel, so everything I'm thinking and feeling is Jesus's will,
Mm,
and you all are fucking wrong.
mm.
Or the way with Connor, it appears, I think he had a genuine
Right.
experience
Yes.
connected to something, connected to the realm of all knowledge, to God for a moment, but then came back thinking he had all knowledge
Mm.
and is really confused now because he's like, I go to explain the universe to people and they don't understand. Why can't people get this? It's
Right.
because he's just drunk on that and lost. He's at the beginning of a journey, but he's touched that infinite knowledge. And he now mistakenly thinks his ego has infinite knowledge.
Right. Right. That situation he's in is rough.
Yeah.
I
And obviously, you were not to that degree, but is that in any way the way it became pathological with you, or was yours completely different?
right at this moment, I feel like I could experience something more, like I wouldn't mind experiencing uh, some manifestation of the Virgin Mary on the outside. On the outside, like it doesn't seem overwhelming, but I think
But also with many things, it comes down to why.
right, right.
Like a lot of times the same action, depending why you're doing it, changes whether it's right and wrong. So,
Hmm.
for instance, if someone wants to see the Virgin Mary so that they have the credibility to start to cult and exploit people and to use the authority of the Virgin Mary to achieve selfish gains, like that's something where it can be corrupt. If someone wants to see the Virgin Mary for the sake of loving the Virgin Mary, and it's like private prayer, like that whole pray at home quietly,
Hmm.
that it's not virtue signaling and they don't even intend to tell anyone. That's
Right.
very pure. So, what are your motivations that you would enjoy meeting Mary, like physically?
Yeah, yeah. I think mostly has to do with it makes life worth living, and it makes I find when I work in working, I experience or I can like I experience more of the divine, and I feel like that's the archetypal water of life. And I think like for me it just makes I would say makes life worth living. um,
That's a beautiful prayer. Like, what mother wouldn't want to hear that? Like, if the Virgin Mary is real, she's listening. And I just said to you, why do you want to meet Mary?
fuck.
Your answer was because it would make life worth living. Like, what mother wouldn't love to hear that? Like, that's a beautiful prayer. That desire, I mean, not even the words you said.
Right,
That reasoning behind wanting to meet her is beautiful.
right.
Aspect of God, what conscious entity wouldn't want that to be the reason that you wanted to meet them?
Yeah, it's good. When you said that, I felt like choked up for a split second. I was like, man, that's
Well, that's what I felt when you first expressed that. When you expressed the answer, I choked up for a second at that. Like, oh, isn't that sweet? But not in a condescending way. Like,
right, right. And that's what I think. Like that's I think that's essentially it's like,
hi, Sally.
hi
Keep
Sally.
going. Sorry.
That's essentially what the idea of the good mother or the great mother is. It's that even like if your mother uh, might be acting a certain way, nature is always can always um, has a kernel of love for you, I guess. And like just going and finding that um, has been important, and then in this like whole coronavirus shutdown, it's been like a like blessing, I guess. Have you
Yeah. So speaking of the shutdown, how's that going? I've fallen away from keeping track of the real world, and
um
I've been really busy with the community, but it's all in this private space. How's
it's
shit going with that?
it's good. I'm in Montana right now with some family and uncle, and it's less. Things are opening up here in California. It's ironically it being a more liberal state. Things are locked down still in California, or supposedly more liberal, and so California is still pretty locked down. Montana seems open, and yeah, there's a lot of talking like on both sides, but it seems like things are coming back to life.
Okay, cool. And
Yeah.
what's because again, I don't keep track of social media and whatnot, and like our group of people that we get at the parties and like just this community, that's not a random sample. We're a
Mm,
bunch of fucking weirdos. So I had a good idea about what's going on in a whole bunch of unique individuals' lives, but no sense of the zeitgeist of where the main
right.
mind is going. I haven't been watching any clips of news or talk shows, and I don't know what's trending in social media. So how are people feeling about quarantine and shit? Like, did is society surviving this psychologically? Are we doing okay at the moment? The collective consciousness of North America?
What it seems like to me is that people, I think generally people did pretty well, and now like coming out, there's a lot of there's a lot of um, talk generally is what like I hear nothing like super pointed in one way or the other. Like people are, I feel like maybe people are still mentally juggling, is what it seems like to me.
What's the energy of the talk? You know how even if you're looking at two people across a room,
Hmm.
you can tell whether they're arguing, whether they're intensely debating, whether they're comforting each other. Like, so not the topics, but what's the energy of public conversation at the moment?
Okay, so I have family who is like, oh my God, all right, just like people are saying, still saying like, stay home, be safe, and conservatives are just like, oh my God, please, let's just stop now. Um,
Okay, and but is it vicious or is it a fairly friendly disagreement of how to go forward, or is it in between? You get what I mean? Like, what's the
yeah.
energy? Are they upset at each other, or when the conservative goes, "Oh, can we just let this go?" Is it like not a big deal that there's not the anger and divisiveness behind it,
I
or
heard,
are things
I heard,
fiery?
I heard more like tired. I'm sure there is. Um, I mean, from the people, it's just like tired. Like let's like get over this type thing. Um, but nothing like I haven't heard any like hostility.
Um, okay, wait. So you just said that, and I just caught something Sally wrote. She said it's sadly turned very cult, true believer. You will kill people if you don't wear a mask. Strained and scared.
Mm,
Okay, so apparently there's a wide variety of energies out there.
yeah, yeah, and like that's there's And that's sort of what I meant when it's a lot. It's just a lot of talk. Like there's all sorts of stuff going on.
Okay,
Um,
so it's a real mixed bag.
yeah, yeah, not as bad as the beginning, but
Good.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
if we think of things, because sometimes we worry about things based on location. Where are we?
Hmm.
It's often much better to look at
Yes.
which direction are we moving. Because even if you're somewhere wonderful, if the trend is that everything's gradually getting worse, like exponentially, like that's a problem. So to pay attention to the direction things are moving instead of where we are. So if things are less contentious than before, that could
Hmm.
be good.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think less contentious and more just
Bye, Rojo.
I mean, tired's the only word that's coming to mind. Um, but yeah.
Well, good. Because we've been very divisive and contentious and very active, manic with our public debates.
Hmm.
Whether it's the IDW stuff, there was a manic energy to that, like building, or whether it was how intensely some people were focused on climate change, like Greta, like there was a fire to that,
Mm.
or the social justice war. There was a lot of fiery, high
Yes.
energy, let's change the world. And you can't run in high mode forever.
I don't.
So, yeah, I think it's good we're all kind of tired and are maybe going to slow down a little.
Yeah, and I mean, part of me doubts it. I'd almost like to put it to the audience and like see what they say in the chat or in the comments, just like what the if they think there's still a lot of, I guess, aggravation or like what they see.
Yeah, so to the audience, if anyone wants to respond, do you feel things like that level of aggravation, contentiousness, fighting, do you divisiveness, that fiery energy? Do you feel like that's better than before, worse, or it stayed the same?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a good question because there was a lot of debate at the beginning, and it was like good debate because we were going through something and we had to come up with like a middle ground, or we had to like get a full picture of what was going on. And now, I mean, um,
And I wasn't putting down the fire stage. Like
right,
all when I was describing all that manic energy, like yes, there's a time for that. Like my
right,
point was you can't do that forever.
right,
You need a certain amount of that, and then you got to let society and individuals all rest, and you got
right,
to process what's gone on
right,
and everything. But
right.
yeah, there's definitely a place for that, and that serves a purpose.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm thinking like, what what we learned. Like, I don't know. Did you find you got anything from this?
Oh yeah, and I think like it shows. Like to anyone who's been watching, look at me over the first year up to when I posted something about how are you doing during the pandemic? Does anyone need to talk? It's like I did sometimes just one video a month, or I did my one full moon and a couple things with Ryan. And then I put out that video. Hey, I hear there's a global lockdown. Does anyone need anything? And then after that, I'm a different person. And again, that's usual to me. I die every year in Phoenix. So I'm aware that I'm entirely different every year, but it's usually nowhere near the size jump there was this year. And, I guess this is shit I talked about much more privately and
Hmm.
maybe haven't said on the channel, but I felt like I was a sleeper cell from upper management who's been being trained for this, and that this was a global event that activated me.
Mm.
And so I've suddenly taken on everything I'm doing with the channel to a massive level. Like I'm doing a ridiculous amount. And I guess lately, not a lot of it's been going up on the YouTube channel. It's a lot of private sessions
Right.
and the parties and But altogether, it's an entirely new me.
Yeah.
And the world seems entirely different to me.
Yeah.
I really do feel The Day the Earth Stood Still is a good movie for people to watch. Both, like either version of it. It's that moment where everything shuts down. That you have a moment to think, but also the whole idea that it's on the precipice of annihilation, that we're actually motivated to change. Or like, Jung said, like you don't undergo the difficult work of individuation, or like without that damage, that pressing need, some sort of crisis. I think we needed to imagine the seriousness of apocalypse, because this was enough. It matches the apocalypse archetype.
Mm-hmm.
We were out of toilet paper. We were wondering, is the world ever going to be the same? And also, yeah, it gives us all the theater to play out any conspiracy theory we want. That is this the New World Order taking over? Is this going to cause economic conditions that result in the next nuclear war? Is this to, vaccinate? Like, is this the beginning of brain programming? Is this to take control of the world economy and move us digital? It's the perfect scenario where any of those that you need to experience internally to have that worry, you can project just about anything in this situation, including that this is just a natural phenomenon. There's nothing nefarious anywhere, and that we are actively doing our best to solve it. You can put any of those stories on this situation, and everyone's having the experience they need to from it.
And I think that's very much in line with the apocalypse archetype, is that it can all go on there. And that I think that's Jonathan Pajot talked about the in Revelation, it's pretty much everything. Like it's the apocalypse in the Bible is like a summary, a tight
An
summary.
unveiling, the revealing, revelation, to
Right.
reveal everything. And so it will reveal to anyone the thoughts they need to have. Like, even to get sucked into a rabbit hole and experience a conspiracy that isn't real. Like, say, and I'm not saying all conspiracies aren't real. Some are, some aren't, whatever, and I don't fucking know which is which. But I'm saying, hypothetically, someone gets sucked into David Icke's reptilian overlord thing. Certain that's real, they experience that. Even if that isn't real, that's valuable. That's as valuable to them in their spiritual journey as if it was.
Right.
Because reality is what we experience. Like, it's going to be no more valuable for me to go through a real apocalypse now that I've had the delusion of going through one. The delusion of the end of the world, when you're completely psychotic, that's as real as reality. So I don't need to go through it now. I've had the experience. I'm changed by it. And so I'm depolarized. If we're at the beginning of a golden age, wonderful. I will help you all transition this world. And if we're about to blow up the human race 10 years from now, that's fine. I will come do that with you. I'll be at the deathbed. That's an interesting reason to live on a planet, to be at the deathbed of an entire race. If that's what everyone needs, I'm up for that. I'm completely depolarized to golden age, end of the world. Apocalypses are fine with me now, whichever way they go.
I agree. That's interesting. That when you said depolarized, I got I got what you mean there. Like it's
I'm not attracted or repelled by either end. You know, some people, if you're terrified of an apocalypse, you're polarized. But also, if you desperately want an apocalypse, you're polarized. I'm depolarized. I'm fine with either. Also, if this suddenly needs to stall out and it takes 2 more generations than it looks like it's moving pretty fast. But if it stalls out, where this takes a little longer to finish unveiling than I think, I'm fine with that too. I'll live out the rest of my world where it's pre-apocalypse, or the rest of this life. I'll live out the rest of my world. Yeah, That's what the rest of this life is, the rest of my world.
Right. Right.
I'm fine with whatever everyone needs to do. I'm totally depolarized.
Right. Right. That also reminded me of the idea of the how your end. So I think the word's eschaton, and it's the end. I just had a jumble of thoughts happen, but I'll try and put them together. But we got a couple of comments here. Martin, uh, referring to the question I asked about, or you asked about aggression. That's a good question, hard to answer. There's often that duality, that increased aggression and increased compassion at the same time. Which, yeah, yeah,
Universe balances itself. So someone being strongly aggressive somewhere invites the universe to balance the energy with compassion somewhere else.
and I feel like you can also be aggressively compassionate, like using it's using that energy in a good way, and not necessarily compassion, just the aggression. Um,
Well, the same way you can love and hate someone at the same time. You can experience something that's both pleasurable and painful.
mm, mm. Yeah,
We can make space for dualities.
right, right, right. Um, and then Sally said, "I have empathy and sadness for people in the strange bubbles of California and New York City. I'm glad people have made themselves available to them. I got too tired for a while."
I, for one, though, am in favor of strange bubbles. I live in an extremely strange bubble and I love it. So, and I know that's not the way she meant it. It's implied that she means strange bubbles that are unpleasant. But strange bubbles can also be very pleasant.
Yeah. She said, "Couldn't run for the hills, strain me, need to build some hills."
Uh,
A lot of talk happened, and a lot of people are determining what to do with it now. Definitely, definitely. I feel like that's true. Like people had um, theories about the whole situation, and now that it's over, they're kind of
And when you look at what Sally just wrote further down, there's a hunger to build exemplified in people like Elon Musk and to escape the current limits exemplified by Eric Weinstein. And they think the result of after Peterson's first round. Yes, I do think that that's an energy I picked up where I'm not saying I've observed it in the world because I'm unplugged, but an energy I have picked up in the world is that it seems to me the energy of fuck, I want to build something is generating in people. So I find it interesting she said that.
mm, mm,
Which, and anyone who's been at the watch parties knows that's also built in me. So that's why I'm asking what's going on in the world, because I'm clearly feeling that energy of people wanting to build things. And I'm checking because that could just be me projecting that I'm feeling that way.
right.
But when I examine it, it seems to me like I feel that way because that's the energy flowing.
And I
As
think
opposed to I'm seeing the energy only because it's what I feel. I
right.
do think it's that reverse, that I'm picking up on the energy and I'm desiring to build something now as well.
Yeah.
To turn sorting myself out, into something bigger to make an actual retreat one day. That sense of wanting to build and move into a new world exists in me. And I
Yeah.
think it's an energy building in a lot of people. And I think being locked in their apartment for a while or home caused that to build. Like Charles Bukowski
Yes.
said, when you lack all inspiration and whatnot, like what you do is you go lie quietly for hours. You don't think. Like it's when you restrict yourself that desire to move grows.
Hmm.
Like when you're forced to sit quiet for too long, that's when you can't wait to move. It's when. So I think this restriction of activity has built up a desire to build in people.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's for me at least. I feel like also when I get moving, it also turns on that switch. Um, like when I get going, like I've thought about it
Yeah,
like
yeah. There's two modes. There's like the active generator,
right,
for instance, a water dam. The motion of the water gets the wheel turning, which builds more energy.
right.
Alternately, there's the kind of model where enclosing it is what builds the energy.
Mm-hmm.
It works both ways. There's both kinds of energy flow. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And then there was one thing you said before that. Oh, yeah. Just that it makes sense. People are going to be more productive after they've like rested. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, yeah. There's been a couple of videos I saw regarding that topic. Um, one by there's a guy who's doing. He did a review of Matthew Pageau's language of creation. I forgot his. Maybe somebody in the chat knows, but he did a review and then he did a video on like too much rest and too much work during this like whole pandemic thing, and yeah, it seemed that seemed cool, um, because I really feel like that's been on people's mind, definitely, like getting that balance right. Um, and yeah, it's definitely very possible that right now we're on the productive swing. Like that's where people are at.
And it's a good time of year for it in this hemisphere.
Hmm. Although I will be happy to bask in the sun. That's gonna be great. I'm really looking forward to that.
Well, I've already had the weather where I can sit outside and it's hot enough to just bake in the sun and start adjusting to it. Because I have to intentionally go outside this time of year and sit in the sun for a few hours every day for a while. Because if I wait till June and then I got to go outside and work for 4 hours, I
Dude.
will burn red and peel so fucking bad. So I think it's been about a week and a half now that I take the time on a regular basis, almost every day, a couple hours of sun on my skin, and that's when I'm spending time with the chipmunks and the groundhog and the birds and stuff. So
Man.
it's also meditation and nature connection. But part of it is I have to adjust myself to the sun every year. And once I build up enough of a tan, and I put that in quotes because I just kind of turn red, not brown, and once I turn red and stay red, I can go in the sun all afternoon and it doesn't hurt. I don't burn and peel. I brighten in redness, but I'm fine once I adjust it. But I have to intentionally do it this month because if I wait till June, the sun will fuck me up.
Man, yeah, yeah, that's like seriously being outside and having the sun like beat down on me recently. That's been the freaking water of life. It's like
Mm-hmm.
that's like keeps me
Especially if you
going.
live out in the country where you can sit naked, like in the sand, feeling grounded, and you feel the sun on all your skin, and you can just meditate. Yeah, and especially I can't see any fucking neighbors from here,
Mm.
and oh, and it's beautiful when you've got the wildlife you've gotten to know. So you open your eyes from meditating, and there's a fucking groundhog in front of
Oh
you
my
that wasn't
god,
there 10 minutes ago when you closed your eyes.
that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, so it's a beautiful time of year.
Yeah.
And yeah, really easy for me to experience God inside and see God outside at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And again, I love the thumbnail for this video, considering what we started talking about.
Yes.
That's such a stupid thumbnail. So I think that's hilarious. That's perfect.
I started talking about God with and there's the dinosaur about. Was that the last episode?
No, that's from back when they. What's the name of the place where Morden went to turn into Dr. Nobody? Remember the Nazi scientist who gives people superpowers?
Oh gosh.
There was the episode where Cliff and Crazy Jane go there. And they're negotiating with him. And there's that little guy who's all excited to get his magnet feet.
Mm.
And he ends up getting left in the machine too long because the fight breaks out. And when he comes out, he's animal, vegetable, mineral man.
Yes, yes.
And then a couple episodes later was when you saw that news bulletin of him trying to rob the store and the dinosaur head attacks him.
Yes, yes. I forgot what episode that was.
That was a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, I think.
Although
it was
we're
two.
doing 12 tonight, which means after tonight there's only 3 more.
Mm.
And then we can move on to, I'm thinking maybe doing like some movies or just talk parties, or maybe some music, and then or make lectures or whatnot. But I'm thinking like avoid another serial show.
Yes.
Quite a while after this is over, but keep up the watch parties. So we'll do movies or maybe lectures or episodes of shows that it's not a serial show. Like I'd love to watch some old Twilight Zone episodes or something.
Yes.
But those are one-offs. Each one's it's like a mini movie.
Right.
Yeah. Once Doom Patrol's over, I think we should do that, and then we'll see. I don't know. I think there's supposed to be a season 2 for Doom Patrol, but with those things, you never know till it actually comes out. So there may never be one, but we can decide when season 2 starts whether we want to continue with that show or not.
Yeah. No, Twilight Zone would be that would be amazing.
Yeah. Oh, and the other is there's specific episodes of Red Dwarf that I really want to watch with people, because some of them are based on psychological concepts or something.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Red Dwarf's another one that I'd like to sometime do a night where we watch maybe, and like Red Dwarf's a short show, each episode's 20 minutes or whatever, 22. I thought it would be cool to do one night where we watch maybe the first 2 or 3 episodes, so that people know who the characters are.
Okay.
And then once we watch those, we could just jump randomly right to season 10, or you just need to know who the 4 main characters are and why they're on a spaceship, and then we could jump randomly around and just pick out a few episodes.
Right. Okay, I'm game.
Like there's a really interesting one about sort of Sam Harris's view of evil, that it's just bad wiring, or you know what I mean, like that's just something to be cured scientifically.
Right.
There's a great episode of that where Hitler's cured by it's awesome. It's like goofy science fiction comedy, but entirely built around like a very interesting philosophical idea. So I'd love to watch that episode with everyone and then discuss that. Wow. And whatever random stuff we get off onto.
Yeah.
The majority of our conversation afterwards ends up having to do nothing to do with what we watched, except that every now and then someone will suddenly go, "Oh yeah, it's like what we watched tonight."
Yeah.
Oh, Sally knows what Red Dwarf is, and yeah, you got to do the cat origin story, absolutely. And what that says about where our own Bible comes from. Lister the Stupid. Fuck, that's awesome that Sally knows Red Dwarf. I don't know how many people have ever seen Red Dwarf. As a kid, I used to watch it, like, PBS was Ontario's public television station, and usually it was garbage, but like late nights on Saturdays when I was a teenager, PBS played Red Dwarf. It's like that's where I know it from, but I don't meet many people who know what Red Dwarf is. It's one of those cult classics.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it. And I think definitely some talk parties would be cool, just to get people around to discuss whatever was on their mind.
Although I do enjoy watching something first, because I find when you do a talk party, right off the bat, it takes a while to get people into the same flow. Watching something together, or even listening to music together, everyone focuses on the same thing for a little while, and it kind of synchronizes our energy or our brain waves, or however you want to look at it, and I find conversation picks up very easily after that, compared to a dry start. And I think also ritual does that. That's also or like even in organizations where there's some ritual at the beginning of the meeting or a special handshake, or that's all about synchronizing
Right.
for the sake of interacting. So I do enjoy having something, even if it's as simple as we listen to a song or two, but like for everyone to just take a moment, quietly be together, experience together, without thinking about what we're going to say. Or, there's the whole at the beginning, it's what am I going to say? Where's this conversation going? I find when you put on a TV show, a song, or a movie, everyone lets that go and we all just experience together. We kind of sync up a bit. And then I like the way conversation flows after that. Even if the conversation becomes irrelevant, they have like nothing to do with what we just watched.
Yeah, and I think maybe like having a topic, even if we don't stick to it, just something to like get people thinking beforehand, might like be conducive to like a good conversation.
If that works for other people, I'm cool with that, but that doesn't work for me. Even if we pick a topic, I'm going to show up just as blank as I always do. Like, my thing is just to blank out, remove all expectation, and trust that weirdo fucking God to inspire in the moment whatever I'm supposed to do. So I take that route, so it's irrelevant to me whether we plan or not. The same way with Sasha. He asked if they wanted to plan anything, and I told him he could just go ahead and plan whatever he wanted. I'm just going to show up either way, and I don't need to know ahead of time. But if it works for other people, we can do that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think regardless, like people oh, we'll try it both ways. Maybe we'll try it.
At least the watch parties started to work. The first one we never watched what we showed up to watch, and we never went back to watch it later.
Did we not watch episode 1?
No. What I'm saying is the very first party. Like, remember we did a few movies first. The first one, I was going to watch Darren Brown's Apocalypse with everyone.
Yes.
And we put it on, and everyone was too excited to keep quiet.
Yeah.
So then we just said, do we want to watch this another night? Because everyone just wanted to talk. And we said, maybe we'll watch it next time. But instead, we just moved on. And since then, watching things has worked. I'm glad. But the first time it didn't work. And we never went back to watch that.
Yeah. I definitely like when so every once in a while in the conversations, like it's good where they go, but then walking it back every once in a while, just like covertly, and then people start talking about it. It's cool to it's cool to experience just how like people's brains work, I guess. Yeah.
And speaking of the party, reminded me that was what we came on. It was because we're doing one tonight.
Yes.
I blanked out and just fell into this conversation with you and forgot about the rest of the day.
We covered.
Yeah, since the party's in under 2 hours now, do you want to wrap this up so we have time to do a couple things?
Yeah, we can do that. Definitely.
Okay, cool. So, Sally, Adela, whoever's here,
yes.
If you guys any free time tonight, love to have you stop in. And even if all you have time for is 5 minutes to come in and say hi and leave, I always enjoy having you all there. So hopefully we get some people show up tonight and things go. I'm happy if they even go half as well as they usually do with how well these go. So I almost said hopefully it goes well tonight, but it's just these always go fantastic. So.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
All right, awesome. Any last thing, though? Like, I didn't mean we needed to get off just this minute, but let's wrap up within 5 minutes at the most. Because I'll fall into talking for another 2 hours if you try to make me do that.
I'm just going to keep thinking about, like, what I was talking about, just because I think it's...
Well, we can come back to that tonight on, Mark, it's a Zoom call. The link is in the description for this video. So it's a Zoom call. And between 4 and 7 hours. Um, so even if you can't be there at 9 or 10 or 11, they've never ended earlier than 1 a.m. so far.
Right. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think.
Yeah. Also, we should pick up this conversation tonight with the group and see maybe other people will give us angles we haven't thought of.
Right. Right. Or their own angles. Like it's like I feel like it's yeah.
It's
Just
fertile ground for a lot of conversation.
yeah. People will definitely have like different different experiences. So yeah. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, awesome.
All right, man. Okay. I will see you in a couple hours.
Cool.
All right. Much love, man.
All right, so Lunatic love to everyone.
Adios.